the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
In fact, any I can say we have a very, very disturbing situation on our hands. It is precarious. You know, say the lives of the good people of Ghana is hanging on just a thread. Our lives are hanging in a balance. You know, say for the midwives are on strike. Now, their strike action is based on the fact say the previous government, under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, but anyone ishiai etrase ebobu nsem bi ho ma entiase eye adwuma say the conditions of service with regards to our nurses and our midwives should improve. Now, after say an understanding, a mutual consent abaso, and some of the mother associations, a table assembly they called because now omonso and some Kayane said they were not informed. And Sana and Amontono El Koso. Now in January this year, and I call to trans some so a trash out all issues. Now I quite be there moon say and she say yeah I bind that down any year nurse for near midwives here you know I bind you to me at talk so now I roll out those policies and implementations. Now there's good standard of living. Yeah, your nurse ne your midwives so pen in fact to me abamusa e diama. But unfortunately, since January, yeah, court says something na bawie ye no na nurse for no hwe ni mu senka budgeter finance minister Dr. Kesela to force and be present to parliament and be capture sa ankomodie na course ni nyina. Unfortunately, bibia sa and me amaso. The sanity Ghana's nurses and midwives, in fact, I started strike action. Yeah, can say about 90 to 95% of our health facilities are sitting idle without these nurses and midwives performing their normal day-to-day activities. Now, the health minister, Akandoh, held a press conference. During the press conference, and somebody took Johnny said, the government didn't put into consideration the a course between these nurses and midwives with the previous administration. Ewo afi budget mu. Enu ntino omo ntumi nkofa dia budget and capture from a ho na and lead to an overbloating of this year's budget. The sanity so betumi ayibibia for ho agise 2026. Now these nurses and midwives are saying that we have lived with this bad working conditions for so long. It is a bibi betumi esia. It should happen immediately. The health minister went ahead to call on nurses and midwives that are on retirement. Said retired nurses and midwives should step in now to salvage the dying consequences of the actions of these nurses and midwives who are on strike. Say Retired Nurses and Midwives Association say Yan kan fanchere the health minister Akandoh. Yan kan fanchere the finance minister Dr. Kesela to force and say omo mane omo machina. If there are issues that should be thrashed out between this current administration and the representatives of nurses and midwives in this country, they should sit down and sort it out now. And yet, the clarion call from the health minister Akandoh on retired nurses and midwives, you know, and also I hated the snack. Now, the multi-million-dollar question is what next? The young the interview between Penyina Neyewada, retired nurses and midwives, and Dr. Kweku Asante Krobia, young Kaneno, now or president for Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Interview our grant and pay any response. Sorry, you may have TV3, any response our the health minister. Any Kumudia for this appalling situation.
On the allowances that they want government to pay them. So let's now speak to Dr. Kweku Asante Krobia, the immediate past president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Doc, good evening. Thank you for your time. What are your immediate thoughts on the fact that the government is saying that, look, based on the fact that there is an impasse between the nurses and government, retired nurses should go and hold the fort while conversations still go on in the background. Is that a feasible step, you believe?
Thank you very much, my brother, and also for bringing me into this conversation. I'm very happy that at this point in time, we are all agreeing that the withdrawal of the services of the nurses and midwives is consequential to breakdown of negotiations. And so it is important for the Minister of Health to understand the fact that it is incumbent on him to do his bidding and the bidding of the nurses and midwives so that we can move forward, arriving at an amicable solution to the problem. It saddens my heart to hear that the minister is trying to mobilize and organize retired nurses and midwives to come in and hold the fort. It is a dangerous move to take, let me put it this way, and I can only see it as a measure in futility because we are talking about
you mean government's decision to ask the retired nurses to go back and help in the current impasse is an exercise in futility?
Yes, it is, because the minister should know that the retired nurses and midwives themselves will not come up. They won't, because they are in agreement with the striking nurses and midwives. Because they are live members of the association, and the association take very good care of them. And the other aspect is that the minister shouldn't deceive Kenyans to thinking that he even knows where the retired nurses and midwives are. How many of them does he think he'll be able to mobilize and come? And even if a small number comes at all, are they the people who are going to be able to stand in for the critical care nurses at the various intensive care units and the theaters to support the surgeons in conducting doing operations? Yeah, but you know that at this stage the doctors have even stopped admitting because of the striking nurses and midwives and the impasse between. So the minister, if he's listening, I'm letting him know that he's not going to succeed in getting the retired nurses and midwives to come. These sexagenarians who retired from service, some of them 5 years ago, some of them 10 years ago.
But there's a national duty that they are being asked to come and assist with. You think on their own volition they wouldn't want to come? Are you assuming that they won't come, or you are sure that they will not come because they agree with the strike?
I am telling you emphatically that they are not going to come because they are in agreement with the striking nurses and midwives, because they are live members of the association. That's number one. Okay. Number two, the minister, does he know the numbers? Does he know where they are? What is the method by which the method is going to employ to bring them in? And I'm also saying that even if he succeeds in getting some of them, the number will not be adequate to soak the pressure that is upon that has come about.
Okay, Doc. Sorry for cutting in, but because of time, we want to know what else can we do in this regard. Clearly, there is a challenge. We're already hearing of cases of people losing their lives because of the absence of these critical health service officials. How do we proceed from here?
Yeah, the fact that people are losing their lives and the conditions of some of the patients who come to the hospital are worsening is not in doubt. And we have to blame the Minister of Health for this, because the solution to this pressure, the solution to this problem, the solution to this crisis is in the hands of the Minister of Health. And it is about time he lobbies the Ministry of Finance to find money to pay the entitlement. And so if people are dying, conditions of some of these people coming to access health is deteriorating. The Minister of Health is to blame. So he should not pass the buck. I mean, the two parties should work together and find an amicable solution to the problem. The nurses and the leadership of the nurses is prepared to bring their part.
Right.
But considering the position of the Minister of Health, that is bringing in retired nurses and midwives to come and hold the fort, which I have told you is not going to succeed.
Because of the budget, we have to hold on for now. Any intended action we want to do, forcing us to pursue. Because I wanted to be fair to the new government. They said, okay, budget was read. We had series of meetings with the Ghana Health Service and then the Ministry of Health. What we keep on hearing was, oh, just be assured that it will be implemented. At a point, the minister was getting angry with us because he feels he has opened his doors and then he is always available. Why do we have to, adopt a certain posture? But the fact is that those meetings never pinpointed how our conditions of service will be implemented. Pressure was mounting on us, and we said, look, let's exercise restraint so that we will work around, because strike is the last resort to use when it comes to labor relationship. Nobody enjoy declaring strike. So let's do the dialogue and see what will come out of it. In one of the engagements, when we push the minister, you tell us what is this thing? What is the timelines? When do we expect something to happen? He said he can't commit himself because what he's assuring us is the conditions of service will be implemented. So we should just exercise patience. sh0ck tomorrow. Can we go back to tell our members that this is what the minister is saying and they will accept it? So, because we're not seeing any way clear, we said, okay, let's roll out some series of actions to draw everybody's attention to the fact that we are not being fairly treated. Because people who even negotiated their own later than ours is enjoying their conditions of service. We can't blame anybody for the court issue. We can only blame our own colleagues who took us to court. So we said, let's roll out an action. And we carve the action in such a way that we should be able to allow the employer to use that period to address the issue before it escalates into something else. Nothing of that sort happened. And sh0ck, let me tell you, sometimes employers feel because there is a clause banning us from taking certain industrial actions, they can always hide under that cover and sh0ck their own responsibilities. Because after all, everybody will say that essential services are not allowed to go on strike. But that same law also prescribes how essential service providers should be treated. Let me put on record that we nurses and midwives who are taking care of the health of the entire nation alongside with other health professionals, when we are sick, we remove money from our pockets to treat ourselves if it is not covered under health insurance. And even whatever that is covered under health insurance, if a particular drug or a particular service is not within your hospital, you have to remove your money and go and pay. And we are receiving other essential service providers. They come. They themselves are entitled to their spouse, 4 children. And even when they buy drugs from their pocket, they go and reclaim. We are not seeing like that, but the public doesn't know. So we move on, hoping that something will come out. They call us for this meeting, 9th June, today, at the instance of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. So we're very excited that probably today we will have something to go and tell our members, and they will relax their position so that we can all sleep, because we can't sleep only for us to meet, and we are told that budgetary constraint, they didn't capture our conditions of service in the budget. Sheikh Omaru, is this fair?
I wish I could answer you. I would let the listeners decide. But one
so
or two
can anybody see that nurses and midwives in Ghana are being treated as essential care, service providers?
My question would be, government
yes.
is a continuum, we know that, but this is a new government. Would you say you have really given them enough time, this new government, to deal with this issue, considering that they have 4 years at least, and so 6 months may not be a fair and sufficient enough time for them to continue with what was negotiated or started by the previous government? Do you think you have actually given them enough time?
Yes, I would say yes. And this is where sometimes the general public think we are playing politics. As I illustrated earlier, the government was put on notice that these conditions of service is not implemented. So they had enough time to factor it into the budget. When did they read the budget? When did they read the budget? And we knew, because we understand how governance structures work, that is why we followed that level. And those who are quick to say that, oh, this government is just new, and then we waited, sometimes they even make it look like we're romancing the previous government and didn't say anything, and just waited till this government comes into power. Then we began to flex our muscles. That is not the case.
It's not justified. Everything points to that, doesn't it? Don't these things point to that?
It doesn't. It is. There is no justification to think that we are pushing the government. Government is the continuum. We don't deal with governments. We deal with employers. The Ministry of Health is our employer, and at the negotiation, all stakeholders were present. Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, the sh0ck institutions, teaching hospitals, they all had representatives there. Why were they there? They were there to carry back whatever responsibility that is placed on them under the conditions of service.
Okay. What was the offer that the government put on the table today when you met, and why did you reject that offer?
Sadly, Sheikh Omaru, we got there, and what we are told is that because of the budgetary constraint, they are unable to implement our conditions of service. But they will just approve it so that implementation will start in 2026. Meanwhile, other professionals within the health sector started enjoying this since last year, and we are now asked to wait until next year. Is it fair? Are we being treated as essential service providers? We also gave a counter proposal. He said, yes, of course, yes. We know the government is doing well, trying to help rebuild the economy in such a way that all of us will enjoy. At least we've seen some of the fruits. Fuel is coming down. That's even come down. The exchange rate has gone better. At least we give kudos to government for that. But that doesn't mean that we should go and sleep hunger. We should continue the frustration because somebody failed to do his work to incorporate our collective bargaining agreement into the budget. So we said, okay, let's implement it now. Then whatever areas that are there, we can partition it. So for instance, we can make it 3 months. When you pay June, you add last year's 2 months or 3 months. You pay July. In that way, we should be able to clear it by next year. Another proposal they wanted to put across is that the condition of service is almost 1 year gone. So we should just assume that it has just started, so that it will end at a later date, maybe 2027. He said that cannot be possible because all the areas that we have accrued from July last year till date, they have already been accrued, and nobody will allow whatever that he is entitled to just go like that. And then what they also fail to realize is that at the last negotiation, some of our allowance could not be taken on board. So we are even eager that the next negotiation should come early, so that we'll be able to table those allowances and other conditions of service. Because we're told that at that point, because of the situation of the country, they could not take new allowances. And we accepted that. Moreover, it is a fact that when it comes to nurses and midwives, people don't take us serious. People don't think we deserve anything. If you hear how people were listening, they sit down and they're pressing phones. If everybody is sitting down and pressing phones, then our withdrawal shouldn't have any effect in the health system. It should not. But that is what, the public see. They think we are just people who are only interested in ourselves. We are the only people who goes to work, smile at the workplace and get home to cry. Because patients die in our hands because of lack of logistics. And by our trade, you are not supposed to join the patient relative to cry over the death of a patient. You get home and you continue to get that replay. If you ask the psychologists and the physiologists, they will tell you what is happening to our blood system when such situations arise. Give us the best care. Then we can also give the best care to the people of Ghana. Let me say that if we should lose a single life because of this agitation, it is the employers who should be held responsible. Because what they are saying is that the health of Ghanaians is not important. Because the carers of the health, the significant carers of the health, are the people that are being treated like, people who don't even matter